Well, hi everyone. I'm John Redlin with a retro review of WCW Nitro from July 18th, 2000. And yeah, I'm continuing my reviewing of WCW 2000, despite the fact that my sanity is just slowly dwindling away. Look, let's be honest. WCW 2000 often gets, memed to death and, shown in a terrible light. There were some good talents during this tumultuous period of WCW. The problem is, the booking was absolute shit, and any progress they could have made was completely negated by the fact they had inept management and they had Vince Russo as the goddamn booker. Now, speaking of Booker, he was all over this show, and also they were going to crown a new U.S. champion. They had 10 matches on this show, and some of them barely went a couple minutes, and we had a lot of backstage bullshit and everything, and they tried with this show. It just didn't fucking work. So, Nitro was on a Tuesday because it was preempted by a movie or a documentary or something, and then a video package showing Scott Steiner, snapping repeatedly. And then we cut to Scott Steiner destroying Booker T's car. Okay, cool. Or a car, a random car. Despite the fact WCW is losing so much money in 99, especially 2000, they were destroying a lot of property, and they were doing a lot of cinematic shit. Remember the graveyard match? I'm sorry if you do. Check out my Bash at the Beach retro review if you want to see what I thought of that shite pay-per-view. So, Ernest Miller and some Nitro girls, and he announces an 8-man U.S. Title tournament because he removed the title from Scott Steiner. Because Scott Steiner, despite going heel and should be on Miller's side, maybe Miller's a face, maybe he's not. I have no idea. I don't think they knew anymore. I don't think Miller knew what he was supposed to be because, again, inept management and Vince Russo booking. So he tells the fan in the front row to sit down or security will remove them because he doesn't want their fat asses blocking the other people. This, I believe, was at the Palace at Auburn Hills, which just recently got demolished. So, RIP to that building. Actually, some pretty good memories. This show was not among them. So then Scott Steiner runs down, pins Ernest Miller down, and basically demands a match with Booker T. And then Booker runs down and fights him off. And then Rick attacks. And then here's Stevie Ray, who was on commentary. And then it's Harlem Heat and the Steiner brothers renewing their rivalry. And yeah, it was a mess. But, Miller basically says, hey, Scott, you're going to face Goldberg tonight. Cool, nice little hook. Hey, we can get two insane guys in a match, in a main event match. Then Jeff Jarrett, El Kabong, Stevie Ray. If you get the El Kabong reference, well, good. You like old obscure cartoons like I do. And then says he will prove to Booker how much stroke he has around here. Gross. He also ruins the word stroke about 5 times during this promo. So we get Canyon versus Mike Awesome in a quarterfinal U.S. tournament match, and if it wasn't for the fact that this went all over the place and really was just a backdrop for Canyon getting attacked by Buff Bagwell, then this pretty much would have actually been a good match. Awesome is called the Fat Chick Thriller. Just why do this? And nothing. I don't care what kind of people you like. You can like anybody of all shapes and sizes as long as you're consenting adults, but it didn't help Mike Awesome. It just made it seem like, oh, you're an idiot if you like fat women. That's pretty much what this was, because it was degrading women that were bigger. And it'd be the same thing if it was a woman with bigger guys. Just seriously, let's stop. Maybe let's stop doing that. I mean, but then again, wrestling has gone beyond offending, people or targeting people's appearances. Except Vince does it quite a bit. So, moving on from this. Buff and Judy Bagwell are on commentary. We get a cutter through the table that Mike Awesome brought out. Bagwell goes to Canyon. The ref gets distracted. Judy gets thrown down. He hits the Buff blockbuster, Buff that is, and then powerbomb for 3. Smooth and Canyon are talking backstage while Buff gets Judy to go with her other son, Buff's brother. Says, get her out of here because she's in a neck brace. It's going to lead to Judy Bagwell on a forklift, and I hate it. Buff Bagwell versus Lance Storm. A video distracts Buff because Smooth is like, hey, Judy, come with me instead. Here, the brother can go away. And then basically a single leg crab taps out Buff in like 2 minutes, and then a canyon cutter, diamond cutter to Judy off camera. Then the Young Dragons attack Ernest Miller. We will not escape this. Stevie helps him. Even though Miller's like, no, we're just playing, we're just having fun. And then he wants a match with Jeff Jarrett and gets the match. Oh, and then we get the Canyon cutter to Judy. We actually see that footage a little bit later. We then get brief footage of the Great Muta's great WCW moments. Great Muta in WCW in 2000 was a little bit odd, and I love Great Muta, and I'm going to tell you why here in a little bit. He faces Vampiro with ICP and the Demon. ICP being involved in the ring in wrestling was absolutely ridiculous, but I will say this much about ICP. One, their most recent shirt, the flag one that they have, that's some great shit. I like that. And they've done a lot of great shit with charity and a lot of stuff they've done with their fame. So that's great. Hate the music. Absolutely despise the goddamn music. I don't think it's music. But at least they've done good stuff with their fame, and I have to give them props for that. And they actually generally seem like pretty nice guys. So, the crowd didn't care about this, though, at all. And even though Vampiro seemed like he should have won, nope, Great Muta won with the moonsault 1, 2, 3. Demon then gets laid out by Vampiro and ICP. Because why not? And then Scott pipes Ralphus and Smiley. No, that's not a euphemism. He beats him with a lead pipe because he wants Goldberg. And then we get promos from Shane and Tori, which went on forever. And then Shane Douglas with Tori Wilson versus Billy Kidman. Quarterfinal match in the U.S. tournament. And Tori interferes. Pittsburgh plunge for 2. We get a chair shot. Despite the fact that there's no outside interference, Tori was there at ringside, so I guess that doesn't count. And then franchiser for 3, sort of. The count was kind of screwed up. Goldberg then arrives, and he's talking to people. 3 count versus the Young Dragons. Gold record ladder match. Their gold record is hanging up there at the Young Dragon stole. Tank joins commentary briefly. Evan Courageous gets thrown off the ladder and really jams his ankle. I think I actually did break it because I don't think he was really featured much after this for a bit. And then him and Jamie Noble would become a tag team. And then 3 count would become 2 count because it would be Helms and Moore. And then the Young Dragons would be Kasayashi and Jimmy Yang. Poor Evan Courageous. That looked, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, because he was decent enough in the ring, but that's just a terrible bump. Poor guy, honestly. And then Jamie gets a record. That's not their record. I'm going to tell you something here in a little bit. Goldberg and Scott Steiner brawl and fight out security, just throwing him all over the goddamn place. Mike Awesome versus Great Muta, U.S. tournament match. It was okay. Hey, Mark Madden got missed, and that's good. Because anything that got Mark Madden off commentary was good. I don't really care if somebody's trying to be a heel commentator, but when you're as bad as he was, to the point that people were legit, can watch these shows and say, this guy was really fucking rotten. And he was. Being a heel commentator is one thing. He was actually worse than heel Michael Cole, and I don't say that lightly, because I hated heel Michael Cole. So he missed him. And it's just food coloring. You gotta act like the mist hurts, but it is what it is. Hey, Great Muta moved up a few more steps on my favorite wrestlers of all time list. He was already up pretty high on that list. Powerbomb to Muta for 3. Mike Awesome advances to the finals. And then we get this Kiwi, I believe you become Kiwi a little bit later. Kidman's then on the stage for this next match. Kiwi, by the way, is the weird fashion guy that would later become a wrestler, and I believe he was the one that famously Goldberg just speared into like 2050 with that goddamn spear. It was absolutely insane. Shane Douglas with Tori Wilson versus Lance Storm, U.S. tournament match. Unfortunately, Madden joins commentary again, but it was what it was. Eventually, Half Crab pins Douglas, taps Douglas. Be interesting if this single crab would tap him. This, if it seems like I'm skipping through these matches, is because a lot of this show should have worked, and it didn't. It ultimately didn't. And it's a shame because building around a tournament, a one-night tournament, is a good way to hook people. And they had the components here to make it work, but again, Vince Russo's a goddamn idiot. Then Kidman drop kicks a chair into Lance's head. And then Jeff Jarrett versus Stevie Ray in 2000, and it existed. Rick and Medeja distract. Medeja does a crossbody to Stevie Ray's back. It didn't really work in a stroke for 3. And then Booker joins the fray because he was on commentary. Well, actually, he joins commentary a little bit later, but he was just there. Booker was all over this goddamn show. And then Lance versus Mike Awesome. Awesome, basically interrupted the Canadian national anthem, said turn that shit off. They brawl for a bit in the entranceway. Bad DDT botch. That looked really, really bad. Action was fine, though, otherwise. Superplex for 2. And eventually, single leg Boston Crab taps out Mike Awesome. So, new U.S. champion Lance Storm. He would go on to win 2 more championships and be a triple champion heading in to New Blood Rising. So, we then get the big women consoling Mike Awesome because, again, fat shaming is important. And then we get, apparently, according to Russo's WCW, Scott Steiner versus Goldberg. Ernest Miller is the ref. Booker joins commentary. This match went about 3 minutes before interference happened. Booker got in, and then Nash comes in, drinking a beer, powerbombs Goldberg, and that's your lot right there. That's the end of the show. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.